All right, so Jesse and I will probably argue too a little bit. So you might have to be a little bit of the mediator between us.
Yeah.
We like to chop it up a little bit on here.
There you go.
Cool. I mean, you and Jesse both have been running firms for 9 years, so definitely want to talk about some stuff about kind of like what's changed in the landscape over the last 9 years and so.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about growing CAS first because I feel like I've seen you talk about cold email, right? You
Yeah.
guys have done cold email, and I've done cold email. We've done cold email, and I feel like that's super rare in the accounting space. I actually feel like accountants hate it, and when I've told accountants, even accountants that like me and like us, that we've done cold email, they look at me like with disgust and disdain. Like, how could you possibly be doing that? So, what was your like? When did you guys start doing cold email? Like, what was your
Yeah.
spin?
When did I pop the cold email virginity that I had on it? So when I started Reconciled, I didn't want to approach building Reconciled like an accounting firm. Honestly, I don't have an accounting firm background. I don't have a public accounting background. So I hadn't run a firm. I really hadn't worked at a firm. So all I knew was about sales and marketing processes a process at businesses and best practice at businesses that I had been controller CFO at. And so obviously one of the practices that is pretty common in the software as a service world is cold email marketing, cold email outreach, right? SDRs would spin up email accounts and do cold email outreach at volume and try to personalize the best as possible. And there's all these tools out there. So I was like, well, if it's working for SaaS, why can't it work for the services I want to provide? Because I'm trying to provide these services remotely online at a fixed monthly price. Sounds like what a SaaS company does. Um, yeah, and so that's really how I started researching and getting into it.
That's we could talk about. I could talk about cold email forever.
Sorry, I almost said when he said if it works for Cass, it should work for ass.
Yeah,
Accounting is a
works for
sir. I
SaaS.
couldn't get it out
SaaS.
of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Yeah.
It should
I
work
mean,
for anything. It should work for ass. It should work for. I mean, if I'm getting emails for Viagra and offshore Indian development all the time that I ignore, but they keep sending them, it obviously works
Are we
for
gonna take?
some
Do we just
reason.
invent a new app? Like instead of Hinge, it's just like cold emailing people. Like that's it. I
Yeah,
think we
yeah,
might have just cracked the case. We'll be the next Bumble. Uh,
exactly.
are you guys still doing cold email?
Yeah, we've been doing cold email since the second year of business, pretty
Wow,
much. So, and it's had its changes
for
for
sure.
sure. I think it's gotten harder and more. There's more noise because once generative AI came out,
Yep.
all the tools that came out about it. So, Google and Microsoft are combating. Those are the two most active emails accounts, and Microsoft in the accounting space. But they're combating with generative AI, and
Yep.
so AI generated email, AI generated tools, but you can't help it. Email is still some of the greatest return on investment in regards to marketing spend and customer acquisition costs. And we're just adding cold calling now. We haven't really done cold calling in the past. So we're just adding cold calling because that's probably still, it's actually still, surprisingly performs the best out of all channels of B2B. Um, but we hadn't ever really done that. So email is just so affordable
Yeah.
for outreach that we focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah. We did email for CAS before we pivoted to SaaS. Like not,
Ah,
but before we launched the SaaS, and then we started doing cold email for SaaS. And it worked really, really well in the beginning for sure. Like some of our best leads, like you said, are still email leads,
correct.
for sure. But I'm curious about the personalization element. Like, have you guys embraced a lot of this like AI personalization? Because I feel like I have like super hot takes on personalization via email, but I'm curious, like, are you really leaning into that and like trying to get a very
We,
predictive?
we hadn't gone that way. One is because here's my joke. I've said this joke a lot. I have a hat and a shirt that says AI equals Asian intelligence. And so before generative AI was really Asian people in the Philippines and India, 24/7 call center. So I really didn't jump on the generative AI bandwagon, like implementing it a lot until I've started seeing actual, use case tools
Yeah.
that are helpful. So on the personalization level, like for example, if you go on LinkedIn, you'll notice I have like a fire emoji in front of my
Yeah.
name. It's not because I think I'm a hot shit or anything like that. It's because I know if somebody's using a bot or a tool
Yeah.
because they have an emoji in front of my name. That's not my, I don't have an emoji in front of my name in real life, right? So they obviously are using a tool that's just pulling my name from LinkedIn and not removing, not actually typing it out. So I know it's a bot.
We put
That's
Jesse.
the only reason I do it. I could have a cat. I could care less what the emoji is, but um, so that's the
Sorry, quick
downside.
interruption. 2 points for Tom for telling me to put an emoji at the beginning of my name for
I
the
Yeah,
stole
same
it from
reason.
him. I
yeah.
saw Michael, Dan, Luthi, and Roman having
Oh
emoji.
yeah,
I was like, what's good with that? And then I was like, oh, it's definitely so like when you scrape it.
yep.
So
Bot bait.
It's bot
uh,
bait. It's like because I know who are bots and who are real, and who's actually actually read through my stuff. Because you can have because the bots can't for some reason remove an emoji yet. I don't know why. It's like they're that dumb still.
yeah.
So that's been interesting on it. But
It's like
do you have
it's like Terminator. Do you remember the movie Terminator?
yeah
How dogs could always tell when there was a Terminator. The dogs would start barking, so they used dogs to detect
exactly.
the Terminator. This is like
An
a we
emoji
need.
is
It's
our
like a
dog, and in,
LinkedIn
in, in
bot
the
dog.
yeah, it's a bot dog.
Jesse
Love
wanted to
that.
use the eggplant emoji as his, and I was like, dude, come on, relax. So I had to
It's
HR.
purple. It's on brand.
Yeah, it is. He's like, it's a purple emoji. What's the
It just
problem?
has a lot of other connotations you might not want, but yeah, sure. Emo eggplant's fine.
Now the personalization, like I'll get emails and it's like, or I'm sure Jesse, you get them where it's like, "Hi Jesse, wow, it seems like you're doing a great job as founder and CEO at FinOptimal. We should connect to talk about synergy." I'm like, dude, what is this? Like,
This
it's
is not a human being does not talk that way.
so crazy. Yeah. So like even the email that we still do, we don't personalize it. We use your name, right? Like
Yep.
the personalization is like breaking down to like list segmentation. So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, this copy will resonate with them, but I'm not going to try to like fake guess. Like, don't be like, hey Tom, so you went to Binghamton. The Bearcats really had a good game over the. I'm like, I don't give a shit about Binghamton's soccer team. Like, that's a horrible personalization.
Yeah.
So
It's so weird. The one personalization I got, and it looked manual, but somebody wanted a meeting, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting one. So I this was a LinkedIn outreach. So I said, hey, yeah, I'm willing to meet, but I didn't send my calendar yet. And then he sends back an emoji, and it's like the timing's unbearable, and it's a picture of a bear on a parking bench. And I thought it was funny. I thought
yeah,
it was funny. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. So I sent that meme that to all of my salespeople, said, you guys can use this if you're waiting on a reply. I think it's actually pretty funny and made me laugh. And so certain memes make me laugh, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I think even the bots can't even do the right memes yet. So
yeah. No, you
that's still personalized. Yeah.
can't AI humor. Like they're not funny. Like they're not
No.
going to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this about memes, and then we'll move to real topics because
Yeah.
like we actually copied this from my cousin who was a BDR at Ram. Shout out Larry, the Kermit emoji. So like when people aren't answering, we'll just send like the sad Kermit, and we'll just hit them like two, three, four sad Kermits, and then people will reply. They're like, all right, you got me. Like even if it's like a negative reply,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got me. I'm
I
not
remember
busy
we
right
saw
now.
somebody else do that too. And we were like, I love that idea. Let's do it.
That's
Yeah,
so
I
funny.
copied it from him. He like started
Yeah.
doing that, and yeah, it's just
Uh,
dumb ideas running our family, I guess. Anyway,
How much borrow professional steel?
Yeah.
yeah, it's a remix or whatever, sure.
Yeah.
But all right, let's talk about these firms because you guys both started your firms around similar times. Obviously, at this point, Finoptimal is both a firm and software company, and I think Reconciled that you guys continue to really push the envelope on like what it means to be a future forward firm. But I'm curious, like, what is maybe the biggest or most radical change that you've made in the last 9 years for your firm? Something that maybe like when you started, you're like, we're never going to do that. Like we're always going to do it this way. We're always going to be about this.
Yeah.
And now 9 years later, you're just totally different. Jesse, I'll let you go first because I've just been dominating this conversation so far and giving no mic time. So go ahead.
Um, I think probably, sorry, the question is, what have we done?
What have we
What have we
changed like
not?
dramatically since the beginning? Like something when you started, you were like,
Yeah.
I know you've changed your mind hard
Yeah.
on
Okay. Yeah.
topics.
Yeah.
I've
All
been.
right. Sorry. Yeah. I'll go. Sure. I think I started with the mindset of I'm only going to hire superstars. Um, and I want all of them to be able to do all of the things. And I just want, people who are just five tool players across the board to do everything from AP data entry to bank reconciliation to process design to monthly close and client service. Um, and over time, I think I shifted to, all right, I'm going to have people who just do bank recs. And if they want to move up from that, great, we'll explore it. But at the beginning, your job is AP data entry and bank recs. And these people over here are responsible for closes and owning these relationships. And these people over here are responsible for implementation, a little more division of labor, which seems like it should be intuitive, but
You
that's
wanted
not
to build
how.
the Yankees, and you decided to play Moneyball, and then that's basically what it comes down.
Well, I couldn't have put it better myself.
That's what I'm here for.
I
Michael,
love
Yeah.
that.
what do you think? I'll translate
You're
yours.
like my Derek Jeter.
I'll, I think that's a good thing. And that
Okay.
makes both Hannah Jeter, which is very nice of you. So she'll be very happy that you said that. Thank you, Jesse. Very complimentary.
Okay.
Michael, what do you?
I was very hesitant on using any labor outside of the U.S., especially with so many people pretending that an Asian call center is generative AI. So I I I now use nearshoring. I started 2.5 years ago. I started um, working with different vendors across South America and Central America and Mexico, like Spanish speaking countries in the same time zone. And we concluded that Argentina worked the best for us, mainly because the vendor we first partnered with beat out all the other vendors in all the other countries and sent us the best talent, the hardest working talent, and they're super competent. So now a quarter of our workforce is actually in Argentina.
Who is that,
And
by the way?
say that again.
Who is the firm that you use?
It's a vendor partner called South Offices.
I was gonna say I thought it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're we're actually at QBC. We're doing Friends of FinOptimal thing where we're giving like certain people like a little bit of booth time at our booth, and
Oh,
they're
cool.
so I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it,
yeah.
I
So
mean,
South
Michael
Offices.
doesn't, I don't know if Michael knows this, but I met Nick from South Offices at a lunch right before your talk on coaching at last year's Intuit Connect.
Oh, okay, that's
And
great.
we both, I was like, he's like, which session are you going? Oh yeah, I'm going down. Yeah, he's a client. And we just both went to that session. And then afterwards, he wanted apparently to talk to you more than he wanted to talk to me. I can't imagine why. But yeah,
Yeah, so
that's a
so so
funny.
Nicholas, I found during the pandemic in early 22, and he has a firm with his dad in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and he during the pandemic he had built this database of accountants, and he always wanted to do outsourcing or nearshoring to the U.S., but didn't know anybody. So he's part of a national group called Vistage that I'm a part of as well. And so I went on the Vistage forum. I said, "Does anybody know any vendors in South America?" Well, there's a whole Latin market of Vistage. And he said, "Hey, I'm an accountant. I own a firm with my dad, and I've always wanted to outsource." So I said, "I'll be your first client." So we were his first client, and we've pretty much gotten him almost every client he has now because I talk about him so much. And I mean, they're a quarter of our team. So obviously, I have vested interest that his company is successful because it's a quarter of my team is the resources we found through him. So he employs them for us. He's our EOR down there, and I would consider him a good friend now. And we are trying to do other business stuff outside of accounting together as well. So he's really opened the world of Argentina to me. It's amazing. It's an amazing place. So I've loved it. Yeah.
yeah, that's a big one for us too. I mean, offshoring. I mean, that was 2 years ago. I don't know when 2 years ago, I guess, when I joined, and we were not
We
offshoring.
were dead against it.
Refused, absolutely refused it. And yeah, I think it's been a no brainer since.
That's
I always
awesome. And where are you offshoring to? Where you found people?
South offices
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
who else?
Yeah, our
India.
first. We also have some. That wasn't our first, actually. We have some people in India, and we have at least one person in the Philippines.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, but yeah, I think it's funny. Remote work in particular, since we're talking about at the beginning, we were only remote work. What are you thumbs downing me for, Tom?
It was that was literally the microphone in my hand moving, but it's also
I feel
funny.
like that was subliminal. Like,
It
what?
was
You want to go work for Michael? What's the deal?
it was
Listen,
subliminal. Michael, do you need someone to shit post on LinkedIn? Honestly, yeah, that's fine, Jesse. You want to put me up for on the trade block here?
I sorry, I'm gonna redirect here. Beginning only remote, and then I started doing this full time. This is a side hustle in the beginning, and then when I started doing it full time, I was like, all right, I'm in the office. Everybody's gonna be in the office. We're only hiring in the office people, and now we've more or less gone all the way back,
Yeah.
especially because we're offshoring and nearshoring. Because look, the labor market has spoken. People want to
Oh
work
yeah.
remotely, and yeah,
Remote
it's
work all the
real.
way. And I don't care. I mean, I've never cared about if I'm in the office, people need to be like, I care more about people like let people do what they need to do to make work life harmony work. And I want to be able to have that because what happens obviously as you know as a business owner, the moment we do start getting bigger, then you're like, well, I'm the owner. I could make an exception for myself and go work from here. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna have any exceptions. And also, you end up finding two cultures. You have your like in office culture, and then you have your remote culture. And the people in the office feel like, oh, they feel closer to you because they're in the office with you, literally, right? So you can go for drinks with them, you can go for lunch with them, and they're top of mind often. You get to know their families, but it kind of puts a separation to the remote workers who you don't get to go out for drinks with them regularly. You don't get to eat. You have to be intentional about that to see them. So we've always been remote and we've enjoyed it. But now it sounds like I need to host. We need to host a conference in Argentina for all of the different firms that Nicholas is working with. It'd be great to do that.
I like that. I love the rebrand of offshoring to nearshoring. It just like is such a subtle, but like it's like obviously it's like when we used to call it co-sourcing instead of outsourcing
Yeah.
when we were hiring people. It's like, oh no, it's better because it says co in the beginning, and you're like, yeah, you know what, we will do that actually. So yeah,
Well, but there is a distinction, right?
Yeah.
Nearshoring is
obviously,
this.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
near, but like, okay, if you're in Washington, right, how near is
that's
Argentina?
five. That's at least five. I think that's five
Yeah,
hours to Argentina.
Yeah.
sure.
You can literally. So here's the deal. Here's the distinction I make is you can literally drive to Argentina.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
can literally drive a car and or fly, right? And the flying actually is fairly quick. It's not that hard to get to South America or Mexico, and the time zone is the same. So you could still be working. And what's great about South Office is if you want a resource to work on West Coast time, they'll find those people, right? Or on East, whatever time zone you want them working on, they'll find those people for you. Um,
Then
and
again, you can drive to India. It has to be an ice age though, so
I
you
was
can
gonna
go.
say,
yeah.
are you going Bering Strait? Because I was about to do a Bering Strait bit. Is that what we're doing
Yeah,
here?
I
I
don't think
was
you can
thinking.
do
Yeah,
that.
how
I
else are you
was
gonna
just
get
gonna
there?
do a Bering Strait joke, so that's
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you can't do that anymore.
that's awesome. All right, I got another one. So we're talking about gets great. We're all growing and we're making changes and we're doing all the good stuff that everyone tells you to do. But like, what's something that is a little old school or traditional or legacy that you guys are still doing that you think other people are trying to like throw out or people are like talk like we don't do that as a firm anymore, but you're like, you know what, like that still works for us and we're going to keep it as part of our culture even though it might be a little bit old school or legacy. Jesse, I'll let you go first. I know it's a tough question, so I'll make you look worse if you don't have an answer. I'll let Michael think about it.
We time track. We charge by the hour, but we do track our time.
You mean we charge flat?
Um, what?
You mean we charge flat fee but we track?
We charge flat fee. We don't bill hourly, but for insight into our own profitability, our client profitability profile, and also just because as full-time employees, we are selling our time. That's the fundamental bargain. And I'm not, I like to think that I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? Super annoyingly meticulous about looking at every hour, but I look at the trends from time to time,
Yeah.
and usually it's helpful to detect a problem with a client more than a problem with an employee.
Mm.
But every now and again, you see somebody's just not doing it. Like they're just not tracking their time, and if they can't follow some instructions, that's a red flag at the beginning. So yeah, I've been told that it's an unpopular practice, I think a full-time employee should be prepared to account for their time.
Yeah, I agree. I
And I
actually do the
include
same thing.
myself in that. I
Yeah.
track my time too.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Like we do the same thing for employees that have billable that have client work, that do client work. They do client delivery. We need to do that because we do need to see trends. We need to keep our sales team accountable to go, did you guys sell this right, the scope right? And are we making the money we want to make? And also, if you don't track time, and you know this, Jesse, like you'll have one employee be super overwhelmed and they're managing $5,000 a month only. They've only gotten to there, and you want to get them to like 10, 15,000, 20,000. And you have another employee who's managing 16, and they're like, give me more work. And you go, what is the difference between these two employees? Well,
Yeah.
the only way you're going to tell is where are they wasting their time? Which clients? And how would you know if you don't track time? Right.
And
So,
we track it not just by client, but by task.
oh, there you go. Well, that's even closer to that's even farther than what we do. But that's amazing. But yeah, there's no way to have that objective conversation to go, okay, one person's feeling overwhelmed, the other one's literally asking for more and more work. You're going, okay, what are we doing? And it also gives you insight of, oh, well, this person has 5 clients that are big versus 20 clients that are small. So also there's all these different insights. Or you said task. This person's doing just AP data entry and they just flying through it with OCR or whatever. And this one's doing customized manual journal entries for payroll and doing hundreds of them. So that those are all things that are really insightful, important. We also, a plug to this tool called Combinely. It's a fairly new tool. We were the first US customer, and Combinely allows it actually syncs into your email and it reads it. What it does, it tracks sentiment of all your employees and all your customers. So it actually can predetermine if they're going to churn the customer and if there's negative conversations going on from your customer or the employee. So we monitor that weekly and go, hey, which customers are having negative reactions to our employees or to us in general, and which employees are communicating negatively, right? And maybe they don't know it. Maybe they're having a hard week or they're just being terse. And it's using generative AI to just tell us, hey, red flag, this client's likely to churn because of these conversations, or this employee's likely to quit because they look burned out. So Combinely has been a really great tool for us on that piece.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
yeah. Oh, so time track, I do that. That was a big one. And then I'm really bad at scanning receipts. So I actually keep physical receipts for a while, and then I just go I spend a day scanning all of them,
Oh
and
my
then I
God.
can throw them away. So I'm really bad at that.
Why do you take a picture of it?
That's what I mean.
Oh,
Scanning. I mean taking a picture. I'm really bad at just doing
okay.
it on the fly.
Got it.
So and just throwing it away. So I keep them in my pocket and then put them on my desk for the week and then or the month, and then I try to just scan them in. So I'm just
Okay.
bad at that. That's such an old school thing, but I'm so bad at it.
We got to get a receipts policy. I guess we've just moved to corporate cards for everything, and now we just don't do receipts, but we probably should do receipts a little bit more.
I don't know. Yeah, the card's probably capturing it all. So
Out of pocket, but I feel like I don't even, there's not that many of us that have expenses, and I feel like we're all not doing out of pocket anymore anyway. But
right.
the time
Yeah.
tracking is interesting to me because I think in the day and age of every single app is telling you we're going to save you time and we're going to be make you more efficient, and it's just like, how do you even know which one to go for first? Like, you should really be tackling it like wherever your team is spending a ton of time that represents an opportunity to make a meaningful impact on the efficiency of your business. And if you're not tracking time, then you're either listening to the squeakiest wheel who may not
Right.
actually represent your company, or you're just picking based on what, like, but vibes. You're just like, nice. Like, I like those. That's a cool color. Like, I'm gonna pick that one. Like, I just fundamentally don't understand how people talk about like running a modern accounting firm and being like, embracing automation and embracing technology, and then just having no idea where their team is actually spending time.
Right. Well,
Um,
at the end of the day, we still the main metric we're holding people accountable to is if you're a client delivery person, there's this much of MRR you have to manage. You have to have and you have to have a reason why you can't get there. And so if you have other ways to show us you can't get there and time's not one of them, if it's like, well, hey, you know, here are the other all the other reasons that are legitimate reasons. Okay, great. And they have nothing to do with time. Great, show us. But obviously, time is a component. I think most of our employees that are having challenges show us like this client just tripled in the past 6 months, right? And the volume increased. Okay, well, that's really hard to pick up without tracking time, right? There's or without literally counting bills that you're doing. And so that's there's some kind of tracking that's occurring. And even with all the tools, like there's a lot of the tools, they're not giving you quickly accessible. What's the volume of bills my team has done today or this week? It's not just accessible like that. It's like a report and counting and stuff. And Jesse knows it. You can't just see this kind of data quickly. You got to go somebody to go put it all together, and then it's dated by the time they bring it back to you. And you go, okay, well, how do I make an objective decision? So MRR is like the biggest one for us is MRR managed.
That's interesting. I think it's a
Do
good
you
point.
do you try to hold your team? I mean, I recognize no, client comparing clients is definitely not apples to apples, but is there a profitability objective that you try to hold your team to there as well?
By default the profitability is there because of the MRR. Then we know the average compensation rate of a delivery
Hmm.
professional. So therefore we know our profitability, our gross margin, our contribution margin on every single team member. So that I'm not really having them focus on that. It's really get that MRR right for everybody and where they don't feel overwhelmed all the time, right? So we have
I
those
guess
MRR metrics for every single team member, and it grows as the longer they stay here. That grows. So we can't
right.
have somebody who's starting out with us in the first year have the same MRR
Of
quota
course.
as the second year person, third year person.
Does
So
does man does oversee does one person own MRR even if multiple people work on the account for a given client?
oh, that's I see what you're saying. We have very few clients that split up. And then if we do split them up, we assign MRR amounts on the split up.
That's
So yeah,
what I meant. I mean, that's interesting. What I meant more was for our team, we have one person who does who reviews the close and also gives direction to the people doing AP and bank recs. And in some cases, if workflows need to be redone, to the person implementing that workflow, but they own the relationship
sure.
and they have to make decisions and say, and like they can see that they can't see everybody's compensation, but they can see how much time other team members are spending on their
Yes.
clients.
Yep. Yep.
And they're responsible for letting us know, hey, we're not making money on this client or putting profitability
Yeah,
high
we
on this
have that. We
client.
have that at the director manager level, not by client, but more if I'm your manager and I'm doing check-ins and I go, hey, there seems to be something off with these two
Sure.
clients you have. You're spending a ton of time, and the MRR is like super low for them or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation, and then our sales team is actively every 6 months reviewing those times collected and then deciding, do we go back for upsells? Do we go back for price increase? Do we just do a standard price increase? Because we do have built into our contracts standard 3 to 9% price increase, no questions asked. No, we don't have to ask the client for permission. We just do it. If it's above 9%, then we do want to go back and rescope. And so that's also been helpful as well.
Interesting. Outside
We
of
have
just
something
time
like that too
tracking,
for contracts.
outside of just time tracking, I think another thing that has helped me identify inefficiency, not really within FinOptimal, but within other firms or companies that we're helping. Like, say somebody comes to us and goes, I have this problem with this client, and like we would like you guys to implement, some of your apps, either set up like Booker and Wrangler or like set up other stuff that's not released yet. I'll always
Okay.
say, okay, walk me through the process. Like, show me a video of you doing it. And I'll watch them do it and I'm like, oh my God, you don't know about like Command C, Command V, or Control C. Like you don't know how to copy and paste,
They're
right?
not. They're not using. They're just not using computer functionality or
At
short
all.
keys
And
or
I'm like,
yeah.
that to me is another underrated way.
Yes.
And I forget who talked about this. It might have been, honestly, it might have been Jason Stats, who was like, one of the best things to do in an interview is to just watch somebody use a computer for 30 minutes. Like, give them
Totally.
a case study and be like, go do it in Excel. Like, because we've done Excel case studies as part of our accounting hiring process. And we're always looking for like, how did they approach it? Like, what do the formulas look like,
Yeah,
right? You actually don't know how they did it. Like you see the output, but watching somebody fumble around a computer screen,
it's great.
what's an indicator of holy shit, there's probably so much time waste. Like they don't know that you
I
could just,
love that idea. We should do that when we give them our challenge. We should just make them do it in front of us.
but I also think that like people can get
Record
stage
it.
right, which I do definitely I appreciate somebody getting stage fright, right? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would get stage fright and
yeah.
I'm
It's
not a
okay.
stage fright person,
What
but
about just recording your screen while you work on it? Hey, you got to work on one screen.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
do that. I mean,
Control. It's like Control C, Control V. It's amazing how many people don't use it. It's actually
Yeah.
wildly amazing. Or selecting a set of files and moving them in batch. Like hold
that's what
shift.
I've seen
They're
somebody
holding
like,
control and clicking one at a time or moving. You're
done
like
that.
hold shift and click at.
Yeah.
They're just simple things that
That
I
is
think.
not Asian intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I
shit.
think
Did I
some
just
of
go
it.
there?
I think some of it is
That
also
part out, Tom.
I'll cut
is
that. I'll cut
it's
that.
what training have you had in computers like in college and younger. And remember, we're now going to face a generation of employees where they only learned on tablets. They didn't learn on laptops. So all those functions literally they don't know exist. And that's what's crazy to me. They've never even opened up a physical computer. They've only worked on laptops or tablets or iPhones. So there are going to be some challenges probably 5 years from now where we see the 27 workforce. They're not going to know any of these functions or tools.
That's fascinating. That's actually where I was going to go next. My final question about the accounting firm transition is like, what are the new skills or experiences or personality traits that you're looking for now compared to 9, 10 years ago? Like when you're hiring an accountant, what are you looking for? I know you're not looking for people who can use an iPad, but that just kind of transitioned me right there. So I'm curious, like, what's the number one that you're looking for, you think?
I think it's for me, the top two skills are you able to learn? Are you able to figure it out and learn? And second is, are you the type of person I can put on video and you can talk to a customer? Because at the end of the day, like only 25% of their job now is actual technical accounting that they have to think about accounting. The rest is all done by the software.
Yep.
So how often are they really doing a journal entry or are they really fixing a balance sheet item or whatever it is? Or they've got to know instead of can you get an invite to a piece of software and just figure it out?
Yeah.
Or do you have to be baby handheld through every single step of the process? Or if a client asks you, hey, I'm not sure I got this new car loan. I don't know what to do with it. Can you just figure that out?
Right.
Or do you have to be so just that bedside manner of being able to smile, be happy in front of a customer, uh, get a customer to talk to them, and then just learn stuff. And like, okay, do you know basic accounting? Sure. Like I'm gonna. It's almost like you'll learn a lot of that stuff on the way too. But I need you just to actually have a good bedside manner and respond to clients and figure things out. That's kind of really what I need to look for.
That's interesting because I think like you look at like Gen Z and the younger generations below that, and they're gonna come for me because I'm a millennial, I guess technically. And they're so tech savvy as a generation, but they're just have like iPad kid brain where they don't know actually how to look somebody in the eye and make a conversation.
Totally.
How to just kill time. Like we used to talk about at Protivity, the like layover test. Like would I be stuck in an airport with this person? Like, if I was, would I be okay? Yeah, I could have a couple drinks at the bar while we wait 4 hours. Or am I gonna literally like be texting my wife on the side, like I'm stuck in the airport with James just now. Like I can't be on that. I cannot believe I'm with this person. And like if you can't just, hey, I gotta kill 4 hours, I'm gonna make a friend. I think that's really that skill has kind of gone away. Like even
Oh
you
yeah.
service business now, people are like incredibly young. They don't make eye contact. They're very awkward. They don't know how to smile. They don't know how to deal with an uncomfortable situation. Like I think the service industry is a phenomenal way of really learning that because a lot of
Oh
times you're
totally.
actually not wrong and people are mad at you for no reason. And you just got to sit there and take it and smile or try to like laugh or smile or joke your way out of the situation. And that skill set is dying. So as much as they're embracing tech, the soft skills are really tough, but the ones that do have it, I think are just going to excel far beyond their peers because they're all savvy, and the ones who can still talk and chop it up are going to stand out. But Jesse, I'm curious, what's your skill?
I mean, I think mine's related. It's funny, Michael. I used to give, maybe we still do this, like a 6 question quiz that had like 3 questions would be on everybody's, and then we had 3 rotating questions to
Yeah.
kind of, and one of them was always sort of a situational thing where it says, the client emails you this. Do you take this irreversible step, or do you just to, and then you make 4 of the answers so obviously stupid, and so many people will still just choose. It's like, that's a great filter. It's that bedside manner filter. I think so I'm a big believer in that and totally agree on that point. I think over the years, I've started to more value, in addition, not more than that, additionally value the ability to give, get, and internalize feedback.
Mm.
I think, um, I think a lot of employment relationships strain on feedback not given or not given well, not received well. When people internalize it, or they choose to say, yeah, that doesn't make me bad, that just means this thing that I did isn't working here. And I think that the best organizations in the world figure out how to give and get feedback more effectively than the average one. I feel like we're still striving to do that because it's very hard to give somebody feedback, hey, this behavior of yours is not working for me. And for them to have the confidence to say, I appreciate that, but here, boss, is what you're doing that's not working for me. And for me to be able to sort of, you know, grin and bear the slap in the face that always is whenever you get, let's call it negative, or, negative
Yeah.
feedback or opportunities for improvement, whatever you want to call it, to take it and make good use of it is a really kind of a higher order skill. So that's something that I think about a lot.
It's interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. I
I
I
thought,
I have to ask about the shirt. Is that for like a tampon company, or like what's the what's
We
going on
get that a
there?
lot. We get a lot, not intentionally. When you use our app, which is called the Accruer, that's
Yeah.
kind of the app that's been out there the longest. In the QuickBooks description, the line description,
Oh, for
you
the
just
period of, yeah.
QuickBooks
Yep.
or
Yep.
the
Yep.
period. Yeah, 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 yeah.
this is what happens when you only have one
I thought he was a
person.
customer. You're bringing people on this show that
Michael,
aren't
he
customers
I
of
is.
just
our.
They are,
Oh,
but
he is.
only
He
we
just
are.
he,
I don't do my month end
he has
closes or
people
anything. I don't
that
do
do
anything.
that for him. Okay.
I'm not the one
Probably
doing
Got
not
it.
enough
accounting.
people at Reconciled are using it because only Michelle would get it. Because I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Michelle
got it.
wasn't
Okay.
using it. So
Okay.
that's a good point. It actually was a 45-minute podcast just to tell you you have to use it for all your other clients. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It's a trick.
Weren't you
We
saying
tricked you.
something about upsell
We
opportunities?
tricked
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
Michael, into
How
doing
much
it. This
are
isn't
we
even
allowed to rate? Can we raise it more than
plugged in. This
9%?
isn't even plugged in. Okay,
Okay.
this whole
All
thing
right.
has been a ruse. Um,
I love it.
so I have one that I maybe it's just because I feel like I can do this, but I think it's a really important skill that sits somewhere in between technical and soft skill, and it's the ability to break down process quickly, like to not just understand the debits and credits, but like to visualize steps of your month end close into if thens,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And
Yeah.
to like really just break down the decision tree so that you can think about, should I tweak something? Should I put some tech in here? Is this even possible for there to be automation in this process? And I think that people don't do that. Like they either start that process and they just immediately like focus on edge cases, or like they lack the ability to understand like, okay, this system has this data and this system has that data. We want them to have the same data, right? How is it getting in? And then how is it coming out the other end? And what are all the little things that are happening in between? And where can things go wrong? And like, let's just pay attention to where the things can go wrong. Like the amount of people that I see signing up for a crewer and they're like, well, I'm going to keep my manual schedule on the side for 3 months to make sure that it's working. I'm like, you could design a much better control to figure out if it's working or not, and it's going to be working. But if
Yeah.
you don't trust me, right? Like rethink the process. Don't do things manually just because it like makes you feel good. So
I I think that yeah, I think the I love that skill set. I think the if you think back on uh the environments most people in accounting have worked in, and the introduction of cloud tools, right? most people, especially above a certain age, they spent most of their career, or at least the first 5 to 10, in desktop based isolated pieces of software doing accounting work. So it was like QuickBooks Desktop and Microsoft Outlook isolated. And then you go to the this other module isolated. They don't talk to each other. And I send it over to sales or to supply chain manufacturing. And those are isolated systems. And then now, the past 10, 15 years, all of a sudden cloud tools come, Google Docs and Microsoft 365. How long did it take Office 365 to actually go online where you don't have to download it and use it on your desktop? So all of a sudden these tools are like, wait, they're all talking to each other in real time. We're all sharing in real time. That's still a fairly unique, new skill and idea and concept for the majority of the workforce, especially if they're over, I call it 50. Mm-hmm. Right. And remember that workforce is like one of the largest segments in history. And then you have the workforce that's under 40 or 45 and under, and that's the millennial group and the Gen Z group, and they're used to that reality. But the older group still, when something broke, there was an IT professional that you went to a call desk and said, "Oh, hey, Outlook's not opening anymore," or "QuickBooks, can you change my password?" You don't do that anymore, right? We don't even have full IT help support. Like I'm it, or my director, they had to figure out how do you go into reset password in Google Workspace. That world did not exist before these cloud tools.
Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting. Now we all have to troubleshoot ourselves.
There's no troubleshooting skill above that age bracket. That's such a good call. Like I even noticed that.
Troubleshooting and signal flow. That's the other. Signal flow is, hey, what talks to what in what order? And so if there's a wrench in the spokes, how do that's where troubleshooting comes in. You have to have knowledge or a concept of signal flow to be a troubleshooter.
Yeah, exactly.
When somebody's like, maybe I'll just Control Alt Delete. Maybe I'll just like turn off the workflow and turn it back on. And all right, yeah, it might work.
And that was the way it used to be with computers. It's like just reset the computer. Then everything worked. But that doesn't work.
It still works with iPhone a lot. But
yeah. But
some people don't even try that. Like some people don't even try that. Like, I'll get emails where people are like, "This isn't working," and I'm like, "I just went in there and it's working," and they're like, "Oh, I didn't wait 20 seconds. Sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, I know that it's magic, but can you just like give it 20 seconds?
It's got to go into space. You have to give it time to come back from space."
Yeah. That's a good call. The stats video. They go into space.
So there's the one skill. I don't know if you guys done this. I don't know how many times I'll say, "Did you pick up the phone and call them?" You tried everything else. No email response, no text response, no Slack response, no whatever. Did you just call them? Like we have their phone number. Oh, and the number of people that are so against just making a phone call, it's so hard.
I agree with that.
And I'm like, dude, you could have solved this a week ago.
How old are you, Michael?
Huh? I'm 43.
Okay. 46. We're about the same age. We're like below that. It's like, all right, dude, call. It's just like, why would you do that?
You're under 40. It's like
what if they pick up?
Yeah. What if they pick up?
But to be honest, like I'm 30, and like growing up, I had to pick up the phone and like call my friends' houses probably until about 5th grade. So about 11 years old. You had to call and say, "Hi, this is Tom. Is Brian there?"
Yeah.
Right? And even that gives me a little bit of an edge over the kids that never had that.
Exactly.
But even and I do it for this job, but I hate it every time I have to do it. I'm like,
At LimeWire, there was a joke that said at LimeWire, people would say, "If the phone rings, it's Jesse." That was the only one.
That's awesome.
That's a huge skill that's lost these days. There's actually a comeback. There's like a bunch of really funny cold calling kids on LinkedIn that are like just like posting about like their cold calling journeys. So I feel like that skill is like that's another one for like the Gen Zers out there, or what's below them, Gen Alpha. Does it reset? Like if you can pick up the phone and call, you will stand out compared to your generation.
Yeah, for sure. Just call, dude. Just call, and I think that's the thing is how many things could we solve very quickly? Just make a phone call. You can't reach them. It's been 3 days. Call them. Just literally call them, and they're probably just busy.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
And
probably.
then your
You
dynamic
know,
range is much wider. You have tone of voice instead of just caps or lowercase.
exactly.
You guys, do you? This is a weird thing for me, but if I'm gonna call somebody, I need to like stand up. I know that's insane, but like I like literally have to stand up. It gives me more confidence that like, okay, this is fine. Like I'll put my headphone in and I'll just like even like walk around my apartment if I'm like going through a list of calls. And it just gives me a totally different something about like sitting still and just like calling someone. I'm like, oh God, do I really have to do this right now? They're gonna hate me for calling. It really comes down to they're gonna hate me for calling them. Because
I,
I
I
hate
think
when
I
people
think
call me,
I
dude.
think it's
When people
because
call me,
Jesse
I'm
and
like,
I had a long number of years in our lives where that's all you did was call because there was no phone. There
yeah.
was nothing else to do. So you made phone calls to reach people and we're comfortable with it. Like it's just I could make a call anywhere, you know, so it's kind of funny.
I just project my own hatred for getting calls onto people. Like I realize that's a flaw of mine that like I love things and I hate them and I hate getting phone calls. So I'm like, this person's gonna hate this just as much as I would. Like, I'm so sorry that I have to call you right now. But maybe they don't. You know, some people I've definitely called and I can hear immediately in their voice. They're like, oh no, like the sales guy got through to me. Damn it.
You know, the messed up thing I'll do is with people in my life, it could even be like employees. I will call them randomly, not just by phone. I'll use other apps to randomly call them, just randomly to say, hey, just checking in. So I'll do a Slack call, just not even warn them, or I'll do a WhatsApp call or a Facebook Messenger call, Instagram, just the jack with them.
I
It could
like
be a
that.
friend. It could be a friend I only text with, and I'm like, I'm gonna just call them through WhatsApp just to mess with them and see what happens.
And I would send you a
Since it
voice
can
note
save a relationship. It can save a relationship that's otherwise on the rocks.
Yeah,
100%, 100%. But I'll have friends that'll call me and I'm like, dude, it's 2:30 on a Tuesday. Like, what do you like? I'm not picking up. I'm busy. Or
it's
like I'm
okay.
watching a movie and they're calling me and I'm like, dude, I'm not. Yeah, let me just pause everything so that you can tell me about your day. Like, dude, you're 30, I'm 30. Like, you're my guy friend. Text me, bro. I
Well,
don't.
maybe they want to ask, why are you watching a movie at 2:30 on a Tuesday?
I don't know. Those are separate instances. Those are separate instances. There's definitely no way I'm watching movies at 2:30. That's good though. All right, it's good stuff. All right, last question for you guys. If you had to rename your firm right now, what would you call it instead? Who wants to go first?
Reconciled. Oh shit. I didn't say that. Yeah. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think.
Yes, you can't do fart optimal either. That is taken.
All
Art
right.
optimal.
I have mine. I'll let Michael go first if he has his. Otherwise,
I'd
I'll let
call
him
mine
stall
Asian
for a minute.
intelligence. That's what I would call
Is
mine.
intelligence. That's
Call
good.
mine.
I like that. AI. Yeah, Jesse, what's yours?
I would call it what I originally planned to call it, which is phenomenal. But who took it, Michael? Why didn't I call it that?
I don't
Because
know.
when I was picking out, like looking for the domain name, there is a charter fishing boat company,
Oh,
right? A
yes.
fishing expedition company called Phenomenal. And
Oh man,
I called them. I'm like, maybe I can buy the domain for cheap. Couldn't reach them. It's some company in Florida that has the name of the company that we should have had.
that's so funny.
In
That's great.
hindsight, you could have just changed. Like you could have done like the Lincoln Park thing, you know? Like they were supposed to be Lincoln Park, just like LINCOLN Park, and it was taken. So they were like,
It was
how about LINKIN? And everyone was like, ooh, yeah, that's it. So they just changed their name.
We could have gone with like Get Dash Phenomenal. I don't
I hate
Yeah,
know.
that.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, don't do that.
Be
Don't.
phenomenal.
Be Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
All right, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks,
This
guys.
has
This is
been
great.
fun.
This
Cool,
has
Take
been
man.
care.
fun. I will see you guys in Vegas.
Michael, be
All
good, man.
right, take
Talk
care.
to you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Goodbye.